Monsieur le Président.
Mr. Speaker, we've just heard reports in the media about a terrorist attack at the border at Niagara Falls. 2 people may be dead, and a third is wounded. Can the Prime Minister give us any information about that terrorist attack? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, this is a very serious situation at the Niagara border. A vehicle blew up on the Rainbow Bridge. We're still talking to the authorities about it, and the Americans, our border service officers, the RCMP, and so on. I was contacted by the Minister of Public Safety. We're trying to gather all the information. We're providing support. We're talking to the Americans. I can confirm that the border has been closed down at the Queenstown, Peace, Rainbow, and another bridge. Additional security measures are being brought to all border crossings all across the country. It's a very serious situation, but we will remain engaged for the entire day.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, we've just heard media reports of a terrorist attack, an explosion at the Niagara crossing of the Canada-U.S. border. At least two people are dead, one is injured. It is the principal responsibility of government to protect the people. Can the Prime Minister give us an update on what he knows and what action plan he will immediately implement to bring home security for our people?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, this is obviously a very serious situation in Niagara Falls. There was a vehicle explosion at the Rainbow Bridge crossing. I've been briefed by the NSIA and the Minister of Public Safety. CBSA, RCMP, and Transport Canada are all fully engaged in providing the necessary support. There are a lot of questions, and we are following up to try and get as many answers as rapidly as possible. We are in close contact with U.S. officials, and we'll continue to work closely with them. We will continue to be engaged. We will provide updates. Updates I can give right now is there are 4 border crossings that are right now closed: Rainbow Bridge, Whirlpool Bridge, Queenston Bridge, and Peace Bridge. Additional measures are being contemplated and activated at all border crossings across the country. We are taking this extraordinarily seriously, and Mr. Speaker, I will have to excuse myself now to go get further updates and work on this very serious situation. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The
Honourable Leader of the Opposition. After all experts warned this government that its spending was causing inflation to rise, the government spent another $20 billion. That means tax increases, inflation up, interest rates up, rents up, mortgage payments up. Will the government finally reverse its inflationary policies so that Canadians who have record mortgage payments to make so that they can save their houses, keep their houses? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, yesterday was a good day with good news for people wanting to buy a new home because there were measures in the fall economic statement that will provide for the construction of thousands of homes all across the country and more rental units through the purpose-built rental building program. And there's good news for households, for Canadians, and for everyone who's interested in having an affordable life here in Canada.
Leader of the Opposition.
What's up? Rent's up. Rates are up. Taxes up, debt up, time's up for this government, Mr. Speaker. After 8 years, they're not worth the cost. And now this Prime Minister cakes on another $20 billion of inflationary spending and will bring up the interest payments on our debt to a record-smashing $51 billion a year. With 2 million Canadians eating at a food bank every month and many facing the loss of their home, why won't they cancel this inflationary scam and replace it with a plan to balance the budget and bring down interest rates and inflation?
L'honorable ministre.
Mr. Speaker, yesterday's fall economic statement demonstrates the next phase in our plan to make sure that we have an economy that works for everyone. Mr. Speaker, the International Monetary Fund is predicting that Canada's growth will lead the G7 in 2024. We have the lowest debt-to-GDP ratio in the G7. And, Mr. Speaker, while we are building housing, while we are moving on with our clean tax credits, while we are making sure that adoptive parents can have the benefits that they need, you know what's up, Mr. Speaker? The end of support for the Conservative Party for Ukrainians in this country and in Ukraine as the Conservatives vote against the Canada-Ukraine free trade deal. Shame on them.
L'honorable chef de l'opposition.
Actually, what's up is the Prime Minister has once again betrayed Ukraine. He betrayed Ukraine when he gave Putin that big turbine to pump his gas and fund his war. He betrayed Ukraine when he refused to sell Canadian gas to break European dependence on Putin. He betrayed Ukraine by failing to vet someone celebrated in this House who turned out to be a Nazi. And he's betraying Ukraine with this terrible agreement to force a carbon tax on Ukrainians that will destroy their ability to fight a war and rebuild their economy. We will axe the tax and stand unequivocally with Ukrainians in their fight for freedom.
I'll ask the member from St. Albert, Edmonton, to please restrain himself. The Honourable Government House Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, if that were true, the members of the opposition would have voted in favor of the Canada-Ukraine Free Trade Agreement, an agreement that I will note the government of Ukraine asked Canada to do with them in a time of their utmost need when they're facing an illegal war of aggression from Russia. But instead of supporting Ukrainians in their time of need, instead of truly stand up for their fight for freedom, they vote against it on a red herring. Mr. Speaker, Canadians need to ask what the Conservatives are doing, and there's only one party that's betrayed Ukraine, and that's the Conservatives. Thank you.
L'honorable député de Belleuil.
The honourable member for Belleuil-Chambly. Mr. Speaker, allow me to express the hope that the situation at the border will be as non-dramatic as it can possibly be, especially under the current circumstances. Yesterday, the government issued its fall economic statement with all kinds of pomp and ceremony, but the box was empty. Businesses are being let down, seniors are being let down, and the homeless are being let down. Are we to understand that things are going to get worse before they get better, Mr. Speaker?
L'honorable ministre.
The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to recognize my honourable colleague. We too are very concerned by the situation at the border, and we will be monitoring the situation closely. When it comes to yesterday's fall economic statement, it's clear that we're going to continue our partnership with the government of Quebec. We're going to spend $900 million, together with our $900 million, for housing. And it's also very important, Mr. Speaker, because tax credits for the green economy are very important to Quebec. And the statement of yesterday's statement is good for Quebec, it's good for Canada, it's good for everyone. The honourable member for Belleuil-Chambly. Mr. Speaker, for 2 years now, they've been trotting out that same $900 million. It wasn't news in yesterday's statement, and that answer just shows how vacuous the statement was. My question was, they're creating a minister for infrastructure and communities. That's the Department of Intrusion and Incompetence. It's interference with Quebec's jurisdiction. Could this government at least stop interfering? The Honourable Minister of Housing.
Monsieur le Président, comme le
Mr. Speaker, as members know full well, It's a pleasure to cooperate with Quebec City, with my provincial counterpart in Quebec. We have a deal, $900 million from the federal government, and the same